Chapter 1. Who, What, and Why. Who is this book for? This book is for the younger version of me, the student who is still in school or has recently graduated from high school, trade school, college, or even an online course. The student who seems lost and is just trying to figure out life. The graduate who is being pulled in so many directions and doesn't know which way to turn. The student who wants to fit in socially but also stand out among their peers. The graduate who has experienced trauma, even if they may not currently define it as trauma because friends, family, and mainstream media have normalized it. Or the student who has an idea of where they are going, but would not reject a wise guide who is willing to help them gain new perspectives and avoid pitfalls. When I speak to students at high schools and colleges, it is like looking in the mirror at my younger self. When I was in their position, I experienced the same things they eat, watch, think, learn, and wear. This truth allows me to realize the struggles that students go through. While having numerous intimate conversations with peers who have graduated, I realized their similarities. Even after graduating, most are still seeking their purpose and ways to efficiently achieve their deepest desires. The combination of my youthfulness and vulnerability helps both groups relate to me and view me as a mentor. When people hear my age and story, they wonder, how have you done so much in so little time? As I offer advice, I do not speak to them as a demeaning, authoritative figure. Instead, I aim to inspire them. I want to truly hear and see people for who they are while helping them find solutions. Who is the author? On the surface, I am a son, a brother, a friend, a mentor, a Black American, and a Honduran man with Garifuna roots. My achievements as a student are noteworthy. In high school at Mount Healthy in Cincinnati, Ohio, I graduated at the age of 16 as the top-ranked Black male in my class. My classmates voted me as most athletic. I earned the Conference Athlete of the Year award, and I achieved the status of All-State in track and field. At Miami University in Ohio, I simultaneously earned my bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting, and I competed as a track athlete while becoming a 3-time NCAA national first-round qualifier and the owner of multiple school records. Then, as a college graduate, I became an entrepreneur, an international consultant, and a school board member. Next, as a Honduran professional athlete, I became a Central American champion, a national record holder, and a Hall of Famer. To that list, I now add published author. You may or may not be impressed by my accolades, but the work ethic, consistency, and discipline it took to achieve them are worthy of respect. At any rate, please do not allow my success to intimidate you or lead you to assume that I will not be relatable. I was once afraid of failure, success, and criticism. At first, I was oblivious to my true potential, and I allowed doubt, the opinions of others, and personal insecurities to limit me. Throughout this book, I will explain how I overcame these obstacles. No matter what, in my heart, I will always be that young, skinny, tall kid who loves learning, spending time with family, playing games, listening to music, and enjoying sporting events. But above all, I find joy in making people smile and helping them see the power within themselves. In this social media age, too many people only show their highlight reel, but that is understandable. Throughout time, people have admired, idolized, and gravitated towards individuals or groups who have attained certain accolades and recognition in the realms of finance or material wealth, athletics or physical and mental wealth, and lifestyle, wealth of self-sufficiency and freedom. I listed my achievements earlier, but now I will list the failures and obstacles that came before them. 1. My high school basketball coaches cut me from the team twice. 2. When I finally made my high school basketball team, I embarrassingly missed my first in-game dunk attempt in front of a packed crowd on my father's birthday. 3. I failed my first 2 college exams, and I wanted to quit after my first semester. 4. After 1 month in college, I decided to change the major that I had planned for since the 7th grade. 5. During my sophomore year in college, I fractured my ankle and could not run for 13 weeks. This placed my athletic career and scholarships in jeopardy. 6. A dream internship in San Diego, California that I had assumed would be a guaranteed acceptance rejected my application. 7. To earn my master's degree, I narrowly passed my required courses. I did not find out that I had officially graduated until an entire week after the graduation ceremonies. 8. As a salesperson, people have told me no or utterly lied to me hundreds of times. 9. I lost by 300 votes in my political campaign to become a school board member. 10. Although I had a legitimate opportunity, I failed to qualify for the 2020 Olympic Games. I will elaborate on these situations with detailed stories throughout the book. Question everything. As a human being, it is your duty and your right to ask questions. When you do not question the ideas, things, patterns, or people around you, you become an ignorant follower. According to Merriam-Webster.com, the word ignorance means lack of knowledge, education, or awareness. I will use sheep as an example here. No matter what is going on in the world around them, sheep blindly follow the crowd, even if they are being led to their demise. However, history has shown us that those who ask questions and do not blindly follow the crowd are the ones who will be remembered and revered by generations to come. Which option will you choose? Curiosity killed the cat is a popular saying. I would like to add the comical myth that the cat had 9 lives. The cat learned from its previous lives, and it eventually was resurrected to become an unstoppable and ferocious lion. The moral of the story here is that you live and learn. Please contemplate the point I am making here. You do not have to stop living to learn your lessons. Be courageous, try new experiences, know that you can bounce back from just about anything, and accept that there are lessons to be learned from everything you do and go through. To further explain the importance of questioning, let's analyze the mom and the ham parable. My mother originally told me this story as we were discussing stats and the things that most people surprisingly do because of unconscious habits. Later, I saw the same story in Dr. J.C. Baker's first book, Common Sense: How Much Does It Cost? There was a mother that cut off the ends of her ham before she cooked for the holidays. Her daughter asks, "Mom, why do you cut the ends of your ham off?" The mother answers, "Well, my mom always did it, and I learned from her." The child says, "Can we ask grandmother why she did?" The mother says, "Of course." The mother goes to ask the grandmother, "Mother, why do you cut the ends off of the holiday ham?" The grandmother replied, "I watched my mom cut the ends off for years, and that is how I learned." The daughter with the greater curiosity asks, "Can we speak to my great-grandmother?" The mother agrees they should. Once they arrive at the great-grandmother's house, they ask, "Great-grandma, why do you cut the ends off of the holiday ham?" Great-grandma replies, "It was the only way the ham would fit into my pan." Think about all the ham they had wasted for decades after getting larger pans. All because it took generations for a child to finally ask why. Please do not take this lesson lightly. Question everything. In this same story, other scenarios could have occurred. The child could have never asked her mom why and just continued the same tradition of wasting food, or the child could have received a completely different answer to her question. The mother could have gotten defensive and triggered when her child asked why, and then angrily replied, "Because that's how our family does it, and you should do the same." I will elaborate on this crucial point further, as culturally in America and other parts of the world, many can relate to this. A parent who is generally a student's first teacher gives their child an instruction to follow. An instruction could be, "Every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m., I need you to take the trash out." Out of genuine curiosity, the child then asks, "Why?" The parent's typical response is, "Because I said so," or "Don't get smart with me," in an authoritative tone. It is my belief that these types of responses are used much too often as evasion tactics or flexes of power that eventually hurts everyone involved. The parent's inability or unwillingness to explain the reasoning now limits the child's ability and opportunity to learn. The child now develops a mindset to not question authority and just do what authoritative figures tell them. If children view their peers as authorities, due to factors such as admiration or intimidation, they will blindly follow instructions that could be misleading or malicious. Authoritative figures also include those projecting opinions on mainstream and social media, the government, and law enforcement. Just like all institutions throughout the history of time, these systems contain certain levels of corruption and biased information that is eventually manipulated to control the minds of the masses. Notice how this relates to the traditional school system, where many students' curiosity is suppressed, as they are programmed to only follow directions given by authoritative figures. It would be unwise to give unquestionable power to any person, group, or system. Having and using the ability to ask questions gives a sense of power. Be sure to maintain this power in all areas of life. Change the way you ask questions. Yes, it makes sense to question everything, but there are more effective ways to ask questions than just saying why. Chris Voss, a former FBI negotiator who now coaches sales and negotiation on a global stage, teaches how the question why brings an emotional response that stems from childhood. When you were barely old enough to tie your own shoes and you did something wrong, or that your parents did not like, they would angrily ask, "Why would you do that?" This now triggers you and most people in America to become defensive regardless of age. With this information, I will now teach you how to ask better questions to gain better responses. Since the other person's response is likely to reflect your tone, be sure to maintain a calm demeanor. Then, change your typical whys to whats. Here are some examples. "Why did you do that?" translates to, "What caused you to take that action?" "Why are you XYZ?" translates to, "What is the reason for XYZ?" "Why can't you just XYZ?" translates to, "What is stopping you from XYZ?" Pay close attention to the different conversations and interactions you have throughout your days. Notice when you would usually ask someone why, and be creative to rephrase your question by starting with the word what. 4 levels of competence. Understand that in life, you are embarking on a journey full of learning. In this book, you will learn from my perspectives, based on my life's trials and tribulations. The advice I give is intended to help you think, plan, and avoid careless or costly mistakes. When learning and implementing something new, you must understand that it is not an overnight process. Rather, it will require different levels of patience. When we first encounter new information, whether it's through reading, watching, listening, or experiencing something, what we are meant to learn or understand may not click at that exact moment. It could take years before what you learn truly makes sense to you. Below is the psychological process broken down into 4 phases, which I learned from one of my professional track coaches, Dwight Phillips. 1. First, you are unconsciously incompetent. This is simply because nobody has ever taught you the best way of thinking or accomplishing a task. 2. The second level of learning is becoming consciously incompetent. This means that now you know when you are doing a task the wrong way, but you have not fully corrected your mistakes. 3. The third level is becoming consciously competent. You are aware of all your actions, but you have not had enough repetitions to execute them properly and consistently without having to think about them carefully. 4. Finally, we all strive to become unconsciously competent. You no longer think too hard about your actions because they have become automatic. Self-reflection questions. The following questions aid us in our self-development. Who am I? Who do I want to become? What do I want to be remembered for? What do I truly desire? Who is in control of my life and my thoughts? What am I consuming? through my ears, eyes, and mouth? Where am I spending my time, money, and energy? What must I do to achieve my goals? What does success look like to me? Who are my mentors? Are they leading me to where I want to go? What am I passionate about? What are my addictions and habits? Are they positive or negative? Are they healthy or unhealthy? Who am I following and listening to, including social media, music, and real life? Is it productive? When I have conversations, what are the topics? Am I gossiping or growing? What advice would I give to my younger self? In 2 words, in 1 sentence, in 1 paragraph?